Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Hump Day, Wonderful Wednesday Paranormal Brew. I'm your host, Taryn, and it's crazy. We're into the 8th year of Paranormal Brew. 8 years. Um, it's literally. I look back and I'm like, holy crap! Do I have maybe 2 more years in me? I don't know, but 8 years is quite an accomplishment. So anyway, without that, my guest tonight, a very good friend of mine. He's awesome. He's got a lot of fun stuff going on. A lot of projects. A lot of you know ghosty stuff and events and paracons and filmings and all kinds of good fun stuff. So I am going to bring him on. Um, you all know him, Larry.
Hi, I'm
Good
back.
evening, Larry. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited to be back. I think it's been a bit.
It has been a bit.
I think
What?
it's been a bit.
It hasn't been that. What? Like last year? Weren't you on
I,
last year?
I think maybe last year or maybe like a year and a half. I
Yeah,
can't remember
don't even. Don't even.
because
I'm too
I
obsessed
remember.
with you for it to go that long without having you on.
Well, I remember we were talking about it, and then I asked you to put the evil one on instead, and then it didn't really work out. So,
Right. That's right.
but it's
Um.
okay because I'm here now. That's all that matters.
Yes. Yes. And I'm very, very excited to have you on. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I want you to just, for anybody that doesn't know you or anybody that, just, the basic stuff I like for my guests to do is just give a little bit of, you know, how you got into the paranormal, and then your background. And then we can go from there, all your projects. I mean, I definitely want to talk about the Black Hawk thing. I'm
Yeah.
very interested in that to learn about that. But without further ado, Larry.
So I guess to start with, getting into the paranormal. Um, I got into the paranormal to prove that it was all fake, and I failed miserably at it
Good.
because here I am, like 15 years later. So it is obviously not fake. I have experienced way too many things now to even begin to think that it's fake. We're well past that. But originally, I got into it disproving people's pictures they put on the internet.
Mhm.
And it was 2009, and this web forum, believe it or not, like back before Facebook was Facebook and Instagram and all this, we had these things called web forums. And that was the place you would go to talk to people in the paranormal. You could share your images, sometimes audio clips, and you would kind of just go back and forth with your experiences. Well, I was on this website for Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Chicago, Illinois. And what's going on, guys? Shane. And people were putting up photos, and this was around the time that people were using that phone app where they had like the little girl in the plaid dress, and they're like,
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I do remember
fake,
that.
fake. So I got pictures of the app's like sticker sheet which is all the images came from. And I could be like, there's that one, there's that one, there's that one. Well, someone finally got mad enough to investigate with me, like for real. They're like, hey, you're coming out. Hi, Kathy. You're coming out to an investigation with us. You don't have a choice. Just come along. And it was like 45 minutes from my house. And let me tell you, I've been hooked ever since.
Wow.
My first shadow figure blocking out the light of a hallway, my first cold spot, my first disembodied voice, first time getting touched. Um,
The whole thing, you had all that like your first, like one night?
one night, my very first time.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's kind of been crazy ever since.
It's funny because I was talking about this last night. The first time that I had it, like, I don't know how to explain it because once you realize that you've experienced something unexplained, then you start to remember things that happened when you were, for me anyway, I started to remember things that happened when I was younger, but didn't realize what happened and I just forgot about it.
100%.
So like
Yep.
I call it the first time I cognitively had an experience that I realized like, okay, I think I'm getting haunted,
Yeah.
Um, but it was a whole weekend, like first it was like banging on my side of my car door, and then
Mm,
you know what I mean, and then it was this cold spots, and then it was I heard an EVP, and it was just like, and this was a weekend's worth, but not in one night.
sure. I remember, I don't remember how far into the paranormal I had gotten, enough to where my family knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And my sister started asking questions, and she's like, do you remember the little boy? And at first, I'm just like, I what? And she starts talking about it, and I started to remember this little boy in my bedroom when I was growing up in high school. And at the time, I had this gigantic platform, Dan, this platform bed that is like 7 feet up. It's absolutely massive, right? Because I'm 6'2" and I have to stand underneath it for the desk. So in the middle of the night, I had this 19-inch box Philips TV that I shoved into the shelf on a corner, and I'd be laying there watching Toonami. And back then, when they would go to commercial, it'd go to black for a second, and then it would like flashbang you with the first light of the commercial. In that first light of the commercial, I saw little hands on the railing of the bed and a little tiny face
Oh,
pop up and
wow.
peek over. I remember distinctly the red coat, and I'd forgotten about that for so long until she reminded me. And I'm like, wait a minute, that actually did happen. And then I talked to my parents more, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not the first time something like that's happened to you." I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Come to find out, when I was in elementary school, I refused to sleep in that bedroom. I would sleep in the hallway outside of the door on the floor. I would never sleep in the room itself.
Do you ever remember talking to your parents back then about it?
Nope.
Like, being like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just
They thought I was just a weird kid. Come to find out, I talk to dead people, so I'm a weird adult too. But that's how it goes. But yeah, I started kind of piecing things together, and I'm like, I've had paranormal experiences probably ever since I was at least 5, and the majority of them were probably this kid in a red coat who
wow.
is gone now. By the way, we don't know where he's not at the house anymore, so
Um,
he moved on or something.
so, but so did they did, so that was like almost like an imaginary friend,
Kind of, yeah.
right?
I don't remember enough to even know if maybe he was. I honestly barely even remember high school at this point. So,
Right.
um,
So you don't
I don't
remember,
know.
like, certain instances, like maybe like, how like some kids will say, well, when I was little, I used to have this kid that came in, and like, you don't remember like any happenings?
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, it's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. I was just,
Yeah.
like,
Well, when I was deployed, I did get a mild TBI, so a lot of memories are kind of scrambled now. So
yeah,
I just chalk it up to, it's gone. But if
yeah,
I did, it would make more sense. Maybe there
yeah.
is a long lost imaginary friend that was a little boy in a red coat.
Well, I mean, and then but you do remember that. So there is that memory there somewhere. It's just it's gonna
Yeah,
take I wonder what it would take to jog it. You ever think about getting hypnotized?
I've thought about it. I just haven't really done it. So
Um, so Dan is quiet, Mariah's gone.
yeah. See, Dan was a farmer, is a farmer's kid, so all his drugs were like horse tranquilizers and stuff like that.
Well, at least they were like, from the earth.
Right, right,
So
absolutely,
they were natural, you know?
all natural.
And Angie and
Oh
Shane said,
goodness, holy cow!
seeing a black-eyed child at our door at 3 a.m. and it knocked 3 times and I saw it out of the window. Scared me. I told my friend to come see it and it was gone. There's no way it could have gone that fast away because it was nowhere. That would scare me too.
Yeah, yeah. Black-eyed kids, even alive kids creep me out. So
That's true.
couldn't imagine a black-eyed kid one.
That would freak me out. Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, all right. So so you've had experiences your whole life. Oh,
yeah. Apparently so.
yeah. And it's like for me, like when I think back, it was only I can probably count like 5 times that I can remember stuff happening, you
Mhm.
know. Which maybe there is more. Maybe it's the same thing like you know what I mean, what you do, or or can't remember some things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But thank you, Dan. um, but um I'm losing my train of thought. See, this is why I can't look at the comments too much because of my
Yeah.
ADHD. You know
It's
what I
okay.
mean? Like I'm trying to make sure I'm getting to everybody, but I'm also trying to like concentrate. This is uh anyway, I apologize. Um uh so you got into the paranormal and you said this was what, 15 years ago.
Just about, yeah. About
Had your
2009.
2009. Okay. So you had your first experience that night and then
Yeah, it
and
was,
then
Scott Mansion in Joliet, Illinois.
scut.
Yeah, Hiram B. Scott was one of the original patent holders for, like, a dozen strands of barbed wire, and his mansion
Interesting.
was so big in Joliet, Illinois, that he had a ballroom on the 3rd floor.
Wow.
We're talking a big place that,
Wow.
back then was a mansion. Nowadays, it's just like a really big house.
Really?
But yeah, like it's a good sized house, but it's nothing compared to what you would expect a ballroom to be in today.
Oh, that's true. I mean, the
So
houses back then, I mean, even the Victorian ones, I mean, you'd walk in and yes, it had these grand entrances, you know what I mean? But they're
mhm,
not big, like,
right,
you know,
right. All the bedrooms were super tiny.
no
Um, you
closets.
know, no closets, and the ballroom was all of the 3rd floor. So, when you take all the walls out, yeah, you can get a pretty good sized room. They
Yeah.
call it a ballroom.
Is it still there, the place?
It is. It had some troubled history. When we did the investigation, the original guy that owned it died, and his dad was doing his best. And his dad was getting up there, and health was an issue, and he didn't know how much longer he had. And then the rumor was it was getting torn down for a parking lot. And then somebody out of, I think, New York or a different state bought it up and has been putting the work in, putting the time in. And I don't think they're doing investigations anymore, but I'm hoping it'll change one day and I can go back.
Really? So what's it do? Is it just sits there?
I think they have it set up to be a museum now.
Oh, okay.
So, because like the original house when we went there, there were a lot of memorabilia from Scott, original barbed wire strands and stuff like that. All the old furniture was still in there. So, it wouldn't be too hard, but it had a lot of structural issues and stuff like that that needed a lot of work to be done.
So from there, do you join a team or do you just
So
start to do things on your own?
I started to do things on my own because now that I know that I can't disprove it, I have to swing the pendulum the complete opposite direction. And now I have to super prove it. And I didn't know anybody at the time other than the team that I was with. So I started my own team. I called myself Northern Illinois Paranormal Research Team.
And people say there's no I in team. You there's the first thing you disproved.
Right, right. And then I soon realized, man, what a mouthful this is. So I shortened it to Northern Illinois Paranormal until it was time to put the acronym onto Facebook, and I was like, nope, done. Not doing that anymore. So it was around February-ish, maybe I think in February, maybe March of 2010, and this random schmo on Facebook starts talking about doing the cemetery crawl out where he lives. This random guy named Dan Norvell goes from cemetery to cemetery to cemetery with a convoy of cars investigating from the fence side. And that's 40 minutes from my house. I'll go check that out. I'm not doing anything. So I go. It ends around midnight ish. And from midnight to 4 a.m., we talk paranormal.
It's so easy.
So easy. And then we did that for like 3 years, almost every night, investigating. And then I eventually joined his team, Small Town Paranormal. We made the Small Town Paranormal family, which had 20 something teams worldwide.
That's pretty cool.
And then kind of got burned out and
Yeah.
kind of quit in 2012, 13.
Okay.
We hit it super hard and flared out. Took 2 years off and then came back swinging.
Yeah. So, and then when you came back,
So we came back, and Dan and I'd always talked about doing a show. You know, I was a big fan of Ghost Hunters. I liked how they did things, and I don't remember what he was a fan of, but you know, we're talking about it like we could totally do this. You know, we could do exactly what they're doing, and I had a little bit of photo editing skills and the smallest amount of video editing that was bad. It's bad. Don't ever look for anything I posted. It's bad. So he goes, let's do this. So we attempted it, and it was the first iteration of a show we called Expedition Entity. And there was this convoluted subtitle that I can't remember what it was anymore. If Dan were still here, he'd be able to tell you. And we made, I think, 1 or 2 episodes and realized it was too hard and quit. So another couple of years go by. We're still investigating full time, by the way. We're going out all over the place doing all these things. And I start college. I think it was like maybe 2018. I start college, and one of my college courses was a film appreciation class, and I'm talking about it with him, and he goes, "Do you ever think about doing Expedition Eddie again?" And I'm like, it didn't go so well the last time. And we kind of talked about it, and we said, you know what, yeah, let's do it. We're gonna do this again. Well, in the meantime, between quitting the first time and then doing it the second time, I had a moderately successful YouTube gaming channel where I it was a video game called Rust. It's like the most toxic video game in existence. It's horrible. But I would put out 3 5 to 10 minute videos a day for like the year and a half that I ran the channel. So I started really picking up on how to do all this video editing stuff. And that came the second iteration of Expedition Entity, also on YouTube. And with that one, we did, I think, 7 or 8 episodes.
well, now you had a little bit more knowledge in what you were doing, though, too.
Yeah, I
So,
had,
so I think it would be a little easier for you. Not saying it wasn't
it
hard work,
was,
but
it was. Editing side, it was a lot easier. On the camera side, I was still very inexperienced.
mm,
So, but that, and then 2020, when I started in my 4 year university, I took film as a minor and kind of fell in love with that. Started taking all these production classes, learning how to actually shoot cameras and do all the stuff associated with that. And we pitched one of our episodes from that original series, the Veterans Memorial Hall, to Paraflix, and Natalie picked us up. And then we had 17 episodes up until January 2024. And as Bill just put in in the chat here. Then came Broadhead Manor.
which I still have to come to. I would love to go to. I would love to go there.
I think you would absolutely love the place.
I know.
It
I
you know
know. Well, I
six
love Bill.
it's
So
60,000 square feet with 3 floors of
um,
spirits that all have their own characteristics and personalities. So
I would love. I would love it. I would want to stay there though for like the weekend, like you know what I mean, like a long weekend, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or like
mhm,
you know what I mean, like something like that. Like spend like a couple of nights there because
sure.
I feel like when you when I mean, and what do you think about this? Like when you like stay at places longer, you tend to maybe like as the time goes on, it's like more and more things happen every day.
Sure. Well, Bill does do overnights, so keep that in a little feather in your hat. Um, you could come for the Rock Down too.
Yeah.
That's in July. It's the weekend before Gettysburg. That's in July.
Okay.
So, from my experience, I find the more I'm exposed to the spirits in a location, the more comfortable they are with me. Whether that's recognition, whether that's the placebo effect, and I just feel like they're comfortable. I don't know, maybe. But at the end of the day, there are certain locations where I feel like if I were to walk in, I'm gonna get a conversation because they know me,
Hmm.
and I, for the most part, know them. I can't see them. I don't know 100% if I'm actually talking to them, but I'm talking to somebody.
Right.
So, and Broadhead's one of those spots.
I think when you frequent a place, I think that if there is this what we theorize as to be, spirit, energy, whatever we want to call it,
Hmm.
I think the more we frequent places, I think it does happen. They become familiar, comfortable, trusting, as you would
Yeah,
in life. You know what I mean? You just don't open your front door, let somebody in, and be like, "Hey, come hang out. Let's have a beer." You don't do that right away, right? I mean, you
absolutely not.
so you have to get to know somebody.
Well, I also think that we deposit our own energy into these places,
Sure.
and the more you're at a location, the more your energy becomes a part of the tapestry there. The more comfortable everything's going to be with you because you're a part of the story now.
Can you imagine how like like if somebody were to ghost hunt Gettysburg like in the future,
Mhm.
I would just be everywhere.
Well, that could be a thing. Um, it would depend. I We have had experiences where there have been serious negative emotional imprints, where someone that's still alive has a spirit at a location.
Yeah,
But usually it's always associated with something negative. And I
really.
don't get you and Gettysburg being negative in
No,
any shape.
no, no, no. Well,
So
like I always tell everybody this: if I die before anybody, any of my friends that ghost hunt, go to Gettysburg, go to the Eisenhower farmhouse. That's where I am.
that's where you'll find you.
That's where I'm going to be. That's where like my home base will be, you
Yeah,
know. But and if I loved you in life, I might follow you around and like hang out with you while you're in Gettysburg. But
sure,
my home
sure.
base is going to be get the Eisenhower farmhouse.
I don't know where I'd go. I'd have to really think about it. I
Yeah.
mean, Broadhead would be a flyby and a stop in for sure. But I don't think
Wouldn't
I've
it
found the
be
spot
like
yet where I'm like, this is where I'm gonna haunt for the rest of my life.
wouldn't that be cool? Like you go to Broadhead and you're a ghost now and you are seeing the spirits that you were communicating with.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would be like, that's what you look like.
That's what you were
Like,
saying.
oh, Mr. Fisker, no wonder you're so angry. You look like an authoritative figure. Okay. And John, yeah, you're definitely German. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that would be interesting. That would be cool. That would be cool.
It would
Uh,
be. It would be.
I remember. Did you ever see the movie with Robin Williams? What Dreams Become. A big
Mm,
movie about the afterlife.
okay, I don't think
I
so.
will say no more because if you ever watch it, it's really good. Basically, your heaven. It's a movie. Well, I will say this: it's like your heaven is what you envision your heaven to be.
Okay.
It is a very good
Jesus,
movie.
this movie came out in 1998.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
So okay, so that's why I haven't seen it yet. Because when I was a
Oh,
teen,
come on. Don't you're
le-
gonna make me
when I was a teenager-ish in 1998, this wouldn't have been a movie I enjoyed.
oh.
So that's why. But
Yeah,
I
so
will.
many yeah, just put it on the list to
Where's it
watch
on?
when you have time. I know you're busy, but
I
you
gotta
know,
figure out where it's at. It looks like it's on YouTube only right now.
interesting.
Oh wait, here's more. I can get it on Apple TV and Amazon. Okay, I'll have to set that up.
Everybody's agreeing with me. Excellent movie.
Yeah, yeah. I love Robin Williams, so I'm surprised I haven't seen it. But yeah, because it's from '98, you know, I was into like action movies and horrors and anime and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So, Destination Spooky Vic is saying he spoke with a number of people who had near-death experiences before writing it.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
So ever since I saw that movie, I'm like, okay, I want my heaven to be the where I feel, Gettysburg for some reason. I mean, I could literally be sitting there watching the sunset and I just start crying because it's just to me feels like home. I don't
Yeah.
want to leave. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, ever since I saw that movie, I was like, that's where I'm gonna be.
Mhm. That kind of reminds me of the ending of Supernatural
I
a
never
little bit.
saw it.
It's good. It dragged on a lot, but it's good.
So we digressed a little bit. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So Expedition Entity, and you do, I mean, like, and then so what happens after that?
So the show ran for 3 seasons,
And what,
and
and what can you just, if nobody has seen Expedition Entity or whatever, can you just give a little background of Expedition Entity, like where you guys went, what you guys,
sure.
you know?
So our goal was to visit lesser known locations to prove that you didn't have to spend $1,000 going to Waverly to get some really good activity. So we went to places that at the time were lesser known. Some of them are a little bit bigger now. We went to obviously Broadhead Manor. We did 2 episodes there. Since then, it's kind of exploded a little bit. We did Tinker Swiss Cottage, which shortly after our episode came out, Jack Osborne's episode came out. So I'm not saying we caused it to explode, but it did grow a little bit because of Jack Osborne, and we were lucky to be able to get in and do a couple filmings there too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then just a lot of local history stuff. We did 2 episodes for the Black Hawk War. We did 1 episode for a location in Oregon, Illinois called Conover Square. We did a location for Ogle County's oldest unsolved cold case, which is like 86 years old or something like that. We did the investigation associated with that building. Just a lot of stuff that people just don't even really know about, but
That's
they're
not
still
really
really
cool.
cool.
So what during Expedition Entity, like what would you say, what left the biggest imprint on you during that?
So probably the biggest imprint on me was when we first started going into investigating. We ran static cam, security device, like everything. We would get, you know, 12 hours of footage on 7 cameras and run 8 recorders and all this stuff. And 95% of it was never gone through. It's just too much. It's too much stuff.
Yeah.
And we would run investigations for 12 hours, and there'd be so many lulls and quiet spots during the middle of it where the spirits just didn't want to interact for a while, that we changed things up and we said, okay, at least for the show, and it's kind of became that way for me now as an investigator. For the show, when we investigate, whatever the normal time slot that you could rent this building for, that's how long we're going to investigate. So we did the Egyptian Theater in DeKalb, Illinois. That's a 4-hour time slot. So we paid extra for an hour before and an hour after because it takes that long to set up gear and take the gear apart and all that for filming. But we only investigated for those 4 hours. And if it didn't happen while we were in the room recording, it wasn't meant to be.
Hmm,
And I
interesting.
I think learning to let go and come to that, like, it wasn't meant to be realization really helped me a lot.
Hmm.
Because if it was meant to happen, if it was meant to experience it or capture it, then it would have happened when I was standing right there.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think we a lot of people agree with this with you and what I'm about to say. And a lot of times when you're in a location, you stuff starts to happen when you're not paying attention
Right?
to the ghosts. You're just kind of having conversations and you're talking or laughing. You know what I mean? So I think going into a location and you want something to happen so bad, or you're hoping something happens so bad, I feel like that gives bad juju. You know what I mean? Like you kind of jinx yourself a little bit. So I always try to go with open mind,
Yeah.
because even if something doesn't happen, you still had this awesome opportunity to be able to investigate a place. These people open up their places for us. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And a lot of it has really cool history that you just don't really find that easily.
yeah,
But some person that decided to buy the building or is, the museum director or whatever position they have, they've done all that research and now they're willing to tell us about it. And, you can now attach some of that history to some of the activity that you're getting.
right. That's awesome when you can get validations of stuff. Finding stuff and you get the validations. I think that's real awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the apps. I don't use the apps,
Sure.
but when I was an enthusiast, I used to have this app on my phone, um, and I'll make this quick because this isn't about me; it's about you. But
Okay.
um, I was staying at the in Lincoln Square in Gettysburg, and I heard feet, like bare feet, running across the wooden floor. So
Okay.
I was like, get all my shit out. So I got everything out, all the equipment. Back then, when I first became a ghost hunter, I bought every piece of equipment you could think of, thousands of dollars that I don't
Hmm.
even use anymore. But
Yep.
I have all this stuff out, got the app out. And one of the names on the I was hearing a lot of stuff, we were hearing stuff, and it was crazy. And one of the words that came up on the app was Pete. So I said, obviously I'm like, okay, is your name Pete? You know, um, Fast forward, we listened back to the audio. Um, and when you hear the app say Pete, and I say, are you Pete? And you hear, yeah, I'm Pete. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So this is all I got right so far. So I was like, okay, well, jump ahead the next year.
Hmm.
Um, Now I'm staying at the Inn of Lincoln Square again, and now they have a concierge, and the guy was all about the history of this place. I had no idea about the history, so we were talking one night, and I started to tell him like what happened the year before, and he's like astonished, right? And I said, "Well, what?" And he goes, "Well, last year was the 100th anniversary of the death of the last Danner that the Danners who owned the house throughout, it was family owned for generations.
Hmm.
She died in the house on New Year's Eve, and 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And when she was dying, the neighbor next door's last name was Peters.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I was like, well, wait a second. I got that name,
Yeah.
even though it said on Pete. You know what I mean? Like it was still to me close enough to have that
It's
validation,
close. Yeah. Absolutely.
you know? But
So I
yeah,
I understand your apprehension about the apps. I
oh yeah.
really do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When most people talk about apps, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? Cool. But there is one app I will die on this hill, and I will say that it works really well. And I don't care what anyone says. It is the Phasma box.
Okay.
So I like the Phasma box for two reasons. Number one, because it's a Windows-based app.
Okay.
So it has to go on a Windows tablet. So with the Windows tablet that I have, I can turn the microphone off. So I know that it's not bringing anything in to get any, hi, Jamie Lynn, to get any signals like, it's picking off of what I am talking about because the microphone is turned off. And number two, because it's my tablet, I can make sure the Wi-Fi is turned off. So now whatever it's getting solely with us sitting there right then and there running the app. And I've never updated the app since I've downloaded it. So as I'm running it, and I've done this both with just a speaker and with Estes, it will bring out multiple word sentences that directly correlate to what's being asked. So I'll give you an example. We were at Old Baraboo Inn in Baraboo, Wisconsin, and I was doing an investigation slash event that night where we were doing the basement and then the brothel upstairs. So I was investigating with my friend Nikki, and it was just her and I. Uh, and it's a brothel with brothel ladies still working there. So somehow Nikki wanted to use me as a piece of meat
Well,
and
I was gonna say,
offer.
he walks the 6'2", tall, handsome, glass of water. What's it?
She definitely threw me out there and hooked her a bunch of lady spirits. We'll say that. So the whole night, we did 3 sessions in the 3 rooms that are in there, and over the Phasma box, they're talking about me wanting to go into the back bedroom. And it's just like, no, you need to wait. We're not ready for that yet. You need to wait. So when we go and do the Estes session, she puts me in the closet of the second room, and she's outside in the bedroom asking the questions. And the questions that she's asking directly line up to what I'm saying in the closet through the Phasma box.
Hmm.
Even again, where they're like, come to the bedroom. He's my new roommate. Um, and then there was one time where she was chuckling, but she's doing it very quietly. She was wearing a wireless mic, so she's kind of down like this, talking, and starts chuckling. And then over the Phasma box, I'm like, I hear laughter, and it's more than one of them, and they're just laughing back and forth between the 4 of them through this Phasma box. So, and there's been so many investigations that I've been on where it has just said the wildest things that are a direct answer to the question to where I don't know anymore. I can't say that this definitely isn't paranormal, and I
Do
don't know how
you
they're answering
always
it.
do you always get answers when you're using it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you can only do it on like a computer, a laptop, or
yeah. Windows-based laptop or tablet. I mean, if you have a Windows phone, maybe. I don't know, but tablet,
um.
yeah.
I have to see. I'm gonna check. I want to check it out.
Well,
And so does it cost money too?
I think it's like 9.99 or something like that. It's super cheap. Then again, I bought it like 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm doing investigations in Gettysburg the 2 days before the bash, so
Hmm.
I will have my Phasma box.
Ooh, so I'll be there Thursday.
Okay. Are you doing the investigation with Jenny Davis?
I don't know.
Okay, she's doing an investigation somewhere. I don't know where. She just says, "Come here," and I show up. So,
I'm
and
sure.
then
I'm sure. I don't know if she's mentioned it to me or not, but it'd be interesting to try to see get that on go on the battlefield in the
yeah.
park in the park.
So I
Maybe.
haven't spoken to Pam yet, like what she wants me to do during the bash.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like I don't know. She said she hasn't figured it out yet either. So if there's nights where she's like, "Hey, I don't need you to do anything here," I might try to slip away and meet up with people at the bash or at the battleground. But I just have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be interesting to see what that picked up. I mean, and here's the thing, like somebody like me, like I can hear sometimes disembodied voices, right? So I always I ask this of people that use this kind of stuff, even they ask this method, when you're picking a word up on this machine,
Hmm.
is anybody picking up an actual EVP? Um, you know
So
what I mean?
we've had that sometimes. It's a little hard to tell when, especially when you've got the speaker, because the
Hmm.
microphone's going to pick up the speaker, and then you have to try to tell, is it a voice, or is it some kind of like synthesized voice that's coming through the speaker?
So you don't hear, does it sound like two voices overlapping?
No, usually it's one or the other. So usually it either comes out of the speaker or it's disembodied. Um,
I think it's
which
I don't know, and I'm not a techie person, so, like, with stuff
yeah,
like this, I don't understand, like, because you use your recorder to pick up EVP, so why wouldn't you be able to hear a disembodied voice with that?
So
You know what I'm saying?
with your recorder,
Or
you'd be able to.
yeah.
If it's so, it depends what recorder it is, right? So our disembodied voices, they exist in the lower register of the waveform, right? They're at the bottom. That's why we have to boost audio to get to them. Well, that area of the waveform exists in what's called the noise floor. And when you have like a 16-bit audio recorder or even a 24-bit audio recorder, um, sometimes that noise floor has a lot of hiss in it. And when
Mm,
you boost the audio, it just sounds like the whole time. 'Cause that's the noise floor. So if you get a really high quality microphone that's 32-bit, that noise floor starts going away and you can hear these voices easier.
hmm,
So if you had a high quality microphone that was 32-bit, a lot more of these voices might be easier to pick up and even raise the volume on without getting too much background noise. Um, but I find that most recorders that people have aren't 32-bit. They're cheaper and they're a lower quality microphone, and that's why you end up missing a lot of voices because the noise floor covers them up.
hmm. I'll have to keep that in mind next time I'm getting a recorder. I have like seven or eight recorders, and you
Yeah,
know, I tend to like the Olympuses. The Olympus
mhm,
is one of my favorites. I do have a couple of Sonys,
sure.
um,
Most
but
of mine are Tascam, and they're all 24-bit, except I have two or three that are 32-bit.
do you find that you do get more EVPs on the 32-bit ones?
So sometimes the 32-bit ones are the ones that you wear in your chest. So
Hmm.
they have a shorter pickup range. They're really just for like right here, and that's about it. Anything outside of this range, and you really
Oh,
can't tell anymore. But I do have one that goes on top of my camera. That's a shotgun mic, and we have picked up a couple voices in there that are a lot louder and clearer
hmm.
than they would be on another recorder. So I haven't picked up any that are super quiet and low yet. But I don't get to investigate as much anymore as I used to.
Bummer.
So like this weekend, I'm going to Alton to do Dead of Winter, and then it's like every other weekend until November, I'm off at an event. And most of the time, doing an event, it's hard to do recordings because there's so many other people and you can't always tell what the sound is. It could be somebody walking upstairs for another group. So I usually don't run audio unless I'm the only one in the space, or
There
only
are
my
some.
team is there.
Are you going to Penhurst this year?
I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not.
well,
I
that is
want
one
to. I wanted
place.
to.
That's one place that it does not matter how many people. You
Yeah.
know when you're getting something, and
I
you
think
know when.
I think I reached out to Gina August of last year,
Mhm.
and they were already full of
Yes.
of their guests. And I was like, "Damn. How do I
I
get
think
on
they
that
have
list?"
I think they literally have like 150 people waiting list
Yeah.
for maybe more. I mean, I know at one point there was 300. I don't know, you know what I mean, where that list is now, but
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Tascam's one of the best. I will say that. Zoom is also up there too.
but they're expensive, right? Are they
They
on
they
the
are
higher end?
expensive.
Yeah.
The Tascam DR5 recorders, which are the ones that I use for most of like my room recorders, like slap the recorder down in the room and let it eat for a little bit. I think those are about $100.
Oh, that's not that bad though.
They're not bad.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Now, but those are the 24-bit. They record stereo left and right, and you have to kind of play with it a little bit, to get the settings perfect. But when you do, they actually do a really good job of recording a large space. And especially like if you have one close to somebody, they record people very well too.
Hmm.
So when we did the show, that was our camera mic for the longest time because they're so good.
Oh,
And that's where we would get some of these EVPs from, because the mic on top of the camera, presumably the spirit's standing right there too, and
right.
we'd get the voice.
That's pretty cool.
So
Um, I want you to I'll give you time to say where all the stuff you're going to be doing and where you're going, but
sure.
I wanted to talk about the Black Hawk project.
Yeah, so this is a long running project. I think Dan and I started doing the research for this in 2015, maybe 2016. So we've been doing it a while.
So what
Um,
started this the research into the Black Hawk project?
so one of the sites that kicked off the war is the Battle of Stillman's Run in Stillman Valley, Illinois. That is 30 minutes from Dan's house. And there are 12 headstones with 9 burials. So that means 3 bodies are out in the wilderness somewhere because they were never recovered. But even though there's 9 bodies in this mass burial for the battle, it's not designated a cemetery. It's designated a park.
Hmm.
And the park doesn't have any dusk hours. So you can investigate this park all night long and no one will stop you. You can be all up in there and they don't care.
Wow.
We were there so often, the police would stop by, know who we are, ask if we caught anything. And then when we would be like, hey, you should come up and do it with us, they're like, no, 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 we're good.
They always know. Yep.
No, you continue. Have a good night, guys. And they take off. But so we were there a lot, a lot, a lot. And, you start investigating and you want to know more about who you're investigating, the event, and why it happened and what led up to it, so that you could ask better questions, right? So we started looking into it and we realized, okay, so the Black Hawk War of 1832 started right here. Like thousands of people died because of what happened in this event.
Right.
And then who are the major players? Where did they come from? What major events were they a part of after this? And the more we started looking into it and then connecting the dots to other battles in the war, um, it kind of just became its own historical study.
That's all.
And it didn't take, it really didn't take off until Dan and I potentially discovered a site that had gone undiscovered until now. So, and that's our big discovery for this year is let me back up a little bit. So you have the Battle of Stillman's Run. It took place on a hilltop, right? What happened was Major Isaiah Stillman and his company of 275 men, they pitched their camp up for the night. And Black Hawk, yes, Abraham Lincoln was a part of that. Black Hawk got word that Major Stillman's forces were here, and he knew that if Black Hawk went to war with these guys, they were boned. They were gonna get annihilated. So he sent down emissaries to surrender under a white flag of parley. And shortly after the first group left, he sent a second group to observe just to make sure nothing happened. And if anything did happen, he could find out about it right away. That second group that was observing was spotted by the scouts of the camp. And the camp leadership figured that the Native Americans coming into the camp to surrender was a trap.
Oh.
So in the middle of their campsite, they executed one of the Native Americans on horseback. The one ran north and he made it out and got back to Black Hawk's camp. The one that ran south didn't. He was shot in the back and then fell into the creek.
Mm.
So in this approximate area of this campsite, we know for a fact that 2 men lost their lives. Fast forward through the whole battle, and the official battle took place just southwest of where this supposed campsite was, and then that's where the 9 men lost their lives, and they're buried in the mass burial. So, knowing that 2 men lost their lives in the camp, we wanted to find the camp, but there's no records of anything where it was or how to find it. It's all gone. So we asked the spirits, "Can you point us in the right direction of where your camp was?" And it took us a long time, and it took us asking in different ways.
Hmm.
Basically, it became me going, "Is it that way? Is it that way? Is it that way? Yes, that way." So we looked it up on Google Earth, and it said, "Okay, I was pointing this direction because I was pointing at that house," and we drew a straight line. We said, "Okay, supposedly it's somewhere over here." And then we went back and we looked at the records, and the campsite was just approximately a mile north of the creek. Well, the creek is still there.
Oh wow.
So we have this line, and now we know from the creek we go a mile north. Here's a spot we should go look at. So we go and we investigate it, and weirdly enough, um, it kind of fits the description of the location back in 1832.
Oh, wow.
So the location was a grove of trees on a hilltop surrounded by prairie. Obviously, it's been almost, 200 something years, 200 years, 180. I'm not good at math. I'm a historian. I'm not good at math. 100 something years. And when we get to the site, not only is there a farm road that leads up to this hilltop that has a grove of trees at the top of it, but it's surrounded by a bean field.
Hmm.
And we're like, okay, well, I mean, this could have been a prairie. A farmer just bought it up. What are the odds that they didn't rip these trees out and plow over these trees? I mean,
Right.
maybe it's in the exact spot on the line that we were supposed to look. So we said, screw it. Bring out the SB7. Let's see if anyone has something to say. And we get a couple of responses. The one that really kind of caught us off guard was my partner Dan goes, "What did the Native Americans do to the men they captured?" And the response through the SB7 said scalped.
Stop it.
And I have it on video, by the way. And we were just like, uh, uh, Jesus, okay, I think this is it. So we've gone back a few times, have continued to get responses. There are two men there, but they won't say whether they're militia or Native American. They both speak English, but Black Hawk's British band worked for the British in the War of 1812, so it's not like they were complete sock. They were for the
Right.
time modernized.
Right.
They didn't use bows and arrows. They used muskets, and they knew military tactics. So they would have also spoken a little bit of English.
Hmm.
It might have been a little broken, but it was still English. And so all that's good. And, spiritual responses tying it to the history, but you have to have something concrete. You need some kind of physical evidence to tie it in. So here's where this year's discovery is going to come into play. The story goes is that during the battle, Blackhawk's forces caused Major Isaiah Stillman's entire company to retreat. Bye, Kitty.
I
To
mean, one's trying to come in, one's going out.
got things to do. So all these men on horseback and on foot, under musket fire, under moonlight, are retreating back to Fort Dixon, which is present day Dixon, Illinois, and they rode through their campsite. So you have men with their boots and horses and just trampling all this stuff down. A lot of it was destroyed. And whenever something like that happens, there's always going to be something that gets buried in the dirt: a button, a buckle, horse tack, anything that could have broken off or fallen off. So the idea is, okay, we metal detect the hill and the bottom of the hill that's been plowed. See if we can pull up something, a button, anything that
Right.
can tie us to either the early 1800s or the late 1700s. Because there'd be no reason for something like that to be on that hill because that area wasn't settled until decades later.
Right.
So we have someone that's going to be doing the detecting for us this year. I'll be recording it because if something comes out of that ground,
Oh, so
you
you
know,
guys haven't done the metal detecting yet?
not yet.
Oh,
This is
exciting.
the year that we're doing it. And
That's exciting.
if one thing comes out, and I have it on video that we didn't plant it there, it was actually dug out of the dirt. We can attribute the chain of custody was dirt to hand.
Right.
We could discover a location in the war that was never discovered before.
That's awesome. I hope I'm gonna send good vibes and prayers, and
I will
because
take
that
all
would
the good
be,
vibes.
yeah, because that would be amazing. How
Yeah.
cool would that be?
And
Now,
and
what
I'm
would
not
you do?
expecting someone to
And what would you do when you find something like that? What do you do with it?
so first thing you do is you have to catalog where it was at, and then the date you found it, who found it, and all that kind of stuff. And then you put it into little Ziploc bags. And then about 45 minutes ish southeast is the university that I went to. So we take that to their, I want to say their archaeology department, and see if we can get someone there to date it, and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
then
I
once
wonder,
you
would
make the
something like
official
that,
discovery,
yeah.
then
I mean, would that something like that have to go into a museum?
so technically no. I believe it's the finders keepers rule,
Mm,
but I mean you could donate it for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I told the guy detecting it that ideally, if we find something, I'd like to find a bunch of somethings
yeah.
to where, if because he likes to keep trophies of his hunts, there's one for him, then a couple for us.
Hmm.
He gets one, we give a couple to like the city of Stillman Valley,
Yeah,
and then maybe I'll keep one for myself too. And then I can bring that around with me when I do the Blackhawk talks.
yeah, that would be
Um,
cool.
but I'm not expecting, this farmer to lose their hilltop or, if we could just get a sign that said that Stillman's camp was right here and then the history about the campsite and what happened and reference the two guys that died, like that would be really, really cool for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe at the bottom you put found by Larry, Dan, and Todd. Like that'd be cool. I wouldn't say no,
With
but
Karen's positive vibes that came
with
our way.
all of the Terran positive vibes. So that's kind of the big research topic for this upcoming year.
That's awesome.
Last
Everybody,
year we spent a lot of our time in Wisconsin, which was
mhm,
the end of the war,
yeah.
and got some wild stuff. Wild stuff. Um,
You
the
ever wonder why the war guys stick around?
So a lot of them died tragically, and I think they're confused. They
Mm,
don't even realize they're dead, let alone what they're supposed to do next.
right.
Um, and I found that sometimes when you do talk to these guys and they finally realize like, oh my God, I'm dead, then they start to realize, oh no, my religion says I did some really bad things.
Mm,
My religion says I'm going to hell now.
hmm.
And then they don't want to cross on. And it's like, no, 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 no.
That's a good theory.
Well, through Dan, who does dowsing rods, and then I work with Scotty Rourke, who's a medium, and Diet, who's a medium, and whatnot. It seems to be like the common element here, especially women. Women who commit suicide are the hardest to get to cross over
Mm,
because if they have any religious bone in their body, they know what happens to women or people that commit suicide. There's that special place in hell for them, and they don't want to do that. They'd rather stay here, and it's like that's not going to happen to you.
do you think it's more religion, or do you think it's more like guilt and like, regret, or, leaving, people behind, because I find with like suicide and stuff like that, or tragic deaths also,
Mhm.
the living, we're all guilty of it.
Right,
We don't want our loved ones to, you know, be to leave. So,
right.
naturally you're constantly hoping, and that because I don't think a bond can break, if it's a loved one, I don't think a bond can break like that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
um sometimes I think our own emotions and our own wants and our for so, you know what I mean, keeps them here.
I think it could be all of the above.
Yeah.
Um, I think older spirits that have been around for longer, tend to be more religious. Newer spirits aren't. So they tend to have more regrets and they want to look in on their family more. And they don't realize that if you go over, you come back stronger. You
Mhm.
can stick around for longer. You can go to different family members instead of being stuck in this one spot.
Mhm.
And I find once you explain to them, like, hey, this isn't it. Like you can cross over and be in a better place and then come back and do whatever you want. They end up doing that. And we have spirits at Broadhead Manor that Dan and I crossed over with Bill, and now those spirits kind of run the roost because
Yeah,
they're the
because now they
spirits that
know.
they
Yeah,
have the power and they
yeah.
have the strength to be like, no, I'm not going to get bullied by you anymore. So, um,
That's great. So,
and I'm
but
still new to the crossing thing, so like don't take what I say as gospel, but just from assisting in a lot of other crosses. Dan crossed a lot of spirits. He was really good at it before he retired in January of last year. Watching him do it was wild, just
so
wild.
so when you guys are doing this though, is it a lot of convincing the spirit that
It
it's
is.
okay to cross over? Because
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lot
um,
of convincing. And then you find out things like that they're scared, or that, there's still things they want to do, and you have to be like, there's no such thing as unfinished business. You can cross over and come back. You don't have to stay and watch over this person, because you could just keep doing it, but from a better place where you're not stuck.
hmm
Or you get the opposite, where you have spirits that are trapping other spirits.
mm,
And one of the first crossings that I did mostly by myself was this last October here. And the location we were at, there were three young children spirits who were being trapped by a not so nice older spirit who did not so nice things while he was alive to young children.
oh,
So
oh,
they wanted to go, but he wouldn't let them.
wow,
And that was a battle of convincing him to let them go.
wow.
And
And then
then
what with him? What would you do with him?
so he was way beyond anything I could do.
Yeah.
So I basically bargained with him. Um, and this was shortly after I got told that I was a light worker.
Mhm.
So my Leo confidence probably came out a little stronger than it should have. Um, so I'd always knew that something was off with me. And then I found out that I am a light keeper, light worker.
Hmm.
I am just the flashlight in the dark, just a bunch of light, uncontrollable, just walking around, glowing like a glow plug.
Look at me! Look at me!
Ta and the ironic thing is that's very much a Leo thing to think about too. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it totally fits. So we're sitting there crossing, and I'm telling this older male spirit, I'm like, listen, I want these kids out of here. You're not going to keep them. And a psychic friend of mine said there's five of them. So I'm like, okay, so you're going to give me all these kids. And we're going back and forth for like 20, 30 minutes. And finally, I bargained with him and I said, listen, you give me three of those kids right now, and I'll leave you alone for the rest of the night. And finally, I got three of the five kids, according to this psychic.
Mhm.
And it's a psychic I trust. So, if he says it happened that way, it happened that way.
Right.
But it took a long, long time. And now other teams that have investigated that space have said that there's kids up there and they're very communicative, whereas before it was hard to get them to talk.
Right. Yeah.
So my hope was that by getting those three to go, they then come back stronger than the dude and can take their two friends with them.
Right. And
He
kick him
might
out.
and kick him out. He might not have realized that was my plan. And it might be just, me thinking it's my plan, and maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't. Um, but the activity has changed because of it.
That's good. That's awesome.
So it's
And
a
then yeah,
new
yeah,
experience.
that's awesome. Um, what do you with the time we have left? I want yeah, I know you're busy and I know it's a lot, but
Yep.
just let us know, let people know where you're gonna be and all the stuff you got coming up.
Sure. So this weekend is my first major event of the year. I'm in Alton, Illinois for Dead of Winter. And then at the end of February, I'm at the Missouri Paracon in Liberty, Missouri, I think. I think so. Um, what else am I doing? I'm doing the Shadows and Spirits Paracon in Tennessee. I'm doing Haunted America in Alton in June. The Paranormal Rockdown in July. Gettysburg, of course, in July.
Yay!
I'm going to Maine for the Maine Paranormal and Horror Con.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to Boyd, Minnesota for the Boyd Paranormal Convention.
Hmm.
And then sprinkled throughout there, there's about 15 or 20 other ones.
It's so crazy to me how these things have become. It's almost like everything has become an abundance. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's been, first it was shows, then it was podcasts, then it was YouTube videos, and now it's paracons.
I I don't necessarily mind so much having the abundance of paracons because I get to go.
Mhm.
So it
And
works out for me.
and see your friend. Like, I only go to a couple every year. I
Yeah,
volunteer, I help out, you know what I mean? But I love
yeah.
seeing all my friends.
There is
That's
that.
the thing for me.
And then
And
a lot of the
networking.
cons I get to do my presentations at.
Mhm.
So I get to talk about the Black Hawk War. Hi, Jenny. I talk about AI and the paranormal. I talk about social media and how destructive social media is for the paranormal community. And then every once in a while, I actually have a couple books this year. I get to give my workshop.
Mhm.
And my workshop teaches filmmaking techniques to the paranormal community. So now instead of shooting everything on your phone, you're actually learning shot composition and what all the rules are and why things look the way they do on TV and how to make your stuff look that way too.
Oh, cool.
So that one I taught 2 years at the university for film to the undergrads, and I really enjoyed it. And it's kind of continuing that forward now with the paranormal.
It's funny because I just got my this camera's old as shit, but I just got this camera out because I'm going to bring it with me because I haven't taken a picture on this, and I
Hmm.
don't even know how long because you just take pictures with our phones anymore.
Right?
I said, I want to start using my digital camera again.
Yeah.
A very old camera. It's nothing fancy,
Sure.
but it's what I got, and
That's okay.
I want to start using it again.
I feel like you'd be surprised what you're going to catch
Yeah.
because especially those older cameras, they don't have scene optimization. It's always my fault, David. They don't have this AI optimization that our phones have now. You know,
Right.
it'll take something like a darker like me right now in the dark in the void that I live in. If you were to take my picture with a phone, all of this would be digitally brightened.
Hmm.
So any spirit that could be standing next to me is basically erased because of the AI bringing that brightness up.
Right.
Whereas your camera is not going to do that. If you have your camera settings done correctly, you know, you should have an easier time pulling stuff out of the darkness on that than you would on your phone.
Well, now you said settings. I don't even know not the first thing about the settings on cameras. I just, I have that
Well,
and I have a full spectrum camera that I never
sure.
use anymore, but I want to start using them again. That's like my,
We
yeah,
we used our full spectrum camera during the day a lot, right?
yeah,
Because you've got like the biggest UV light in existence outside.
right.
And we would get dozens of weird things in photos where you're like, that's not there.
Yeah.
What is that?
I should send you though. I got this one missed photo in Gettysburg.
Hmm.
I was using the full spectrum camera during the day, not
Hmm.
because I knew about the light, but because I love the pictures that it takes.
Sure,
The
sure,
pictures are beautiful
sure.
because of the colors, the crispness of like even the trees and everything, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, I did. There's a mist in one of my photos that's really really cool. I think of all my years of ghost hunting and investigating, I have three, maybe four pictures of something. You know,
Yeah,
one apparition, one ball of light, a mist. You know what I mean? Like, okay, three that I can think of off the top of my head.
let me
Um,
see if I can. Let me see if there's one I want to show you. I don't know if it's on Facebook or not. I'm hoping it is, because I think you'd be blown away by this picture if I can find it here.
yay, yay.
It was captured with a full spectrum camera, and at the same time we were running UV video. So it kind of shows you the difference of the two running at the same time. Let me see if I can find it. This was before we did the show, so that was a while back.
Very
If I was
funny, David.
if I was on my other computer, I'd be able to show you a lot quicker.
That's okay.
Um, if nothing else, I could also send it to you afterwards, but I really wanted to show your audience too.
Yeah.
Um, my goodness, how far back do I have to go? I might have to look and send it to you.
No,
But it's a really wild photo. I have it on my phone, but that doesn't do me any good right now. Um, yeah. Oh, is this it?
damn it.
Where are you? Where is it? Come on, Facebook, give me the picture. That's not it. That makes me sad. I thought I had it.
Oh,
I'll send it to you. You'll be
okay.
like, what the heck is that?
You'll
Uh,
send it to me. I'll share it. I'll share it.
sure. Yeah, that's not a problem. It's been on Facebook for forever, so um yeah, I'll send it to you. But
Okay.
it's full spectrum photo with a UV camera, and what appears in the full spectrum photo does not appear in the camcorder, pointing in the same direction at the same time.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of like a two pictures side by side.
That's awesome.
And I've got a lot of full spectrum photos where we caught stuff, and you're just like, what the hell is that? How is that even possible?
Yeah.
But this one's like the best one I've ever seen. So I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see it. I love it. I love stuff like that. Well, sir, I've had you now for an hour and 10 minutes.
You have, and we barely scratched the surface of all the stuff that I'm doing.
I know. Well, I mean, I have time if you have time.
I got a little bit more time.
All right. So let's talk about it.
So I can't talk a whole lot about it yet because it hasn't been fully accepted.
Uh-huh.
I have a new book coming out, and I feel like he's gonna pick it up because he picked up my other two books. Mike Ricksecker with Haunted Road Media.
Oh, I love Mike.
He published mine and Dan's other two books, and I sent him a couple chapters from this new book, and he sounds excited about it. He just hasn't answered yet. So I'm not gonna say it's gonna get published through Mike. That's kind of my wish still.
Yeah.
But I have a new book coming out sometime this year that is an updated paranormal guidebook, ranging from, history of the paranormal all the way up to the newest devices that we're using today, and talking about what the devices are, how they're used, techniques that you could use to using them, things you don't want to do when you're using them, and a lot of other really cool stuff that I feel like people don't know but could use a little bit of teaching on.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a chapter in that book that covers case files
Hmm.
from, I think there's one in there from 2010, actually, and just all the meticulous nature of cataloging these cases we would go on, what we would do, who was there, when we were there, and just all this stuff. Um, and that's the new book that's coming out here in the next couple months. So I'm hoping Mike picks it up. He seems excited about it.
I love Mike. Mike's a frequent flyer on the brew. I have him on a
Yeah.
lot to talk about some stuff. He's a great guy. I love him. He's so smart. He's so knowledgeable
Oh
about
yeah.
so many things.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I hope he picks it up. That sounds like a really interesting book.
I do too. He seemed interested about it. He seemed excited about it. So I feel like I'll be good. And then it'll just add another book onto my Haunted Road Media catalog for him. And
That's cool.
then I got reached out to by Llewellyn for another book. So that'll be the next one I start tackling.
So
I'm
what do
excited
you
about
mean? Like, do people just reach out and say, "Hey, Larry, will you write a book about this?"
that. So originally I pitched a book to Llewellyn a year or two ago, and they turned it down. And then the same lady that I pitched it to emailed me back last year, and she's like, "Hey, are you still writing paranormal books?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm focusing on film right now, but I'm still doing books." And she goes, "One of the things that you sent me, we would be interested in developing a book just about that." And I was like, "Well, it's going to have to be early next year, but I could definitely do that." And she goes, "Well, reach out to me when you're ready to start. We'll get working on it with you." So, as soon as this third book is done, I'm jumping right into the fourth.
That's cool. That's awesome.
I enjoy it. It's different. All the film stuff that I do, it's very different to stop, slow down, and go and type.
My problem is I type or text how I talk.
Sure.
So anybody that knows me has been in a chat with me, you included.
Mhm.
My thoughts, like I will text and there'll be like seven messages to get one thought out.
Mhm.
You
It's
know?
almost like that's everything you would have said in one breath.
Right, yeah, it's like, I'm gonna LOL, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah,
like, because so writing to me, like, it would probably take me so much longer to write something because I would have to you know, go back and just edit and edit and edit and edit like I
sure.
do even with my Facebook posts, you know what I mean? Like I'll go back and I edit 100 times because I talk how I write. I
I've
mean,
I've I've
the way
noticed.
I talk.
I'll see one of your posts and I'll like it, and then later on it'll come back on my feed, and I'll be like, "Wait a minute, I don't remember that part. She added that part.
Edited. I
That
am
part's new."
I am famous for editing. I'm in a chat with some of my friends, like I'll take a screenshot and I send it to them and I go, I edited, of course. And they're just like, LOL. Like it's just like, you know,
Yeah. I used to be a lot better texting on my phone, and then I don't know if my thumbs got bigger or the buttons got smaller, because now all of a sudden I'm just all over the place here with like spelling errors, and I'm like, oh geez. And then I go to edit it, and then there's like 15 edits in a simple message. I'm like, this sucks. I
and
need
now
to get better
and
at
now
this.
everybody wants to send voice messages. I'm one of those. Like it's just
Oh
easier
yeah,
to hit talking. And then I'm like, why aren't we talking?
right,
We're doing
right,
voice messages back and forth.
right. Well, yeah, and then I don't know how many you get, but I'll get voice messages from people that are like 6 minutes long,
Mhm.
and I'm like, hey, listen, I need to stop halfway. I'm gonna answer the first part of your message,
I know.
and
I
then I'm
have
gonna
to do
listen to the
that.
second half.
I have to do it. Like if I get a voice message that's long, I have to answer because my ADHD, I'll forget.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I know I'll want to answer that, but I'll forget about it. So I have to answer as I'm listening.
Right.
So then when there's classic Taryn, you're gonna hear bing, 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 bing. Because I'm talking, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. But okay. So besides that, anything else?
Yeah. So this month here, it was like 3 weeks ago, I had a new documentary come out. It's a documentary short about the Chicago Days of the Dead horror convention, and I was invited to be a part of the Paranormal Experience, which is like a paranormal section for the HorrorCon.
Okay.
Um, but really, the doc has nothing to do with the paranormal. It's all about the event, the attendees, and celebrities, and the costume contests and stuff like that. And I don't get to do non paranormal very often.
No,
So it was really exciting for me to do that. And I put it out. And then ever since I put that out, I've had 4 other projects pop up because of it.
that's cool.
So now we're working on a cosplay documentary that's all
Mhm.
about cosplay,
Hmm,
and a very specific cosplay artist, and kind of following her through her journey of getting ready for a con and stuff like that. Um, and then I'm in the process of working with 2 other events
There's
to do mini docs about their events.
there's somebody I know that she was the scream queen, her Jessica Felice. She's cosplay. She does cosplay and she does it so good. Um
Yeah.
she is on you got to check her out. She is on Instagram. She'll put
Okay.
up videos. She does like duets with people now and everything. Like I mean, like she like does it up. She laughed at me one time. I said, how do you get your hair to like change colors so often and go and her makeup, everything is so good
Yeah.
that I mean, she's just phenomenal.
I've seen some of the wildest costumes where
Yeah.
you look at the person outside of the costume and you're like,
What?
how was that even possible?
Yeah.
Makeup. They're so good at their makeup, it doesn't even look like their face anymore.
Do you ever see those videos on Instagram where the girls are like looking at themselves and paint and like doing
Yes, my friend Jen does that. And
holy
she'll do
moly.
like the headless thing where her head kind of
Yeah, and it
does
is like
this, and
so good. I'm
yeah,
like,
I
it's
I don't I don't have the vision to be able to do that.
the artistic, like just I literally
Yeah,
find myself at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like watching these videos
sure,
in amazement. I'm
sure.
like, this is amazing.
You not only do you have to have an artistic eye for that, but you also have to see art in 3D
Yeah.
to be
And
able to know how it's
and,
gonna move
and
around
mirrored and mirrored.
and mirrored. Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah. The one lady that we're talking to kind of be like the silver thread throughout this whole next doc. Um, we're debuting her new costume for this documentary, and the amount of work she's put into it, I can't believe it. We're talking about like 3D printing props
Well,
and then
uh,
sanding and painting them and detailing them, and it's like, how did you even learn how to do this?
yeah, how that's what I mean. I don't even I want a 3D printer,
Yeah,
but I don't even know the first thing about 3D printing. Like I have no
yeah.
idea about it.
I'm
No
I'm
idea.
sure it was like an uphill battle learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And I know from watching, TikTok videos that they mess up all the time.
And it's
And
gonna be expensive.
yeah, the thread can be expensive, depending on what it is. Some are cheaper than others.
Hmm.
But and then, on top of knowing how to do all that, you have to sand and paint. You have to know how to sew. You have to know how to do makeup. You have to know how to do a wig and dress the wig up. And then you have to learn the character itself.
Right.
So it's like there's so much work that goes into just being this character for a short amount of time. And I'm looking forward to being able to capture that in a completely non paranormal project.
That's cool. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
I love that you're into so many different things, you know?
it's taken me a while. Like I had to do the paranormal to kind of
Branch out.
sharpen my teeth a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's stuff like that that I got because of the Days of the Dead video, that I got because of the paranormal.
Right.
This the last month here, and I can't say much about it because I have an NDA, so I legally can't say anything about it. I've been filming with Brittany Bickett and her mom, Michelle Roos, and everything that they put out, I'm allowed to share because they put it out. It's their project.
Right. Right.
So, it's no secret that I'm doing something. I'm filming something. But even that isn't 100% paranormal, and that's really cool.
That's awesome.
So, being able to do these new projects with new people, they picked me up because of other things that I did that have now
Mhm.
just been paying off down the line.
Networking.
Networking and yes, is season one of Expedition Entity not that great? Yeah, it is what it is. But season three, oh boy, did I
Yeah.
really learn a thing or two.
Right.
So, every time I talk to people and they're like, I don't really like how my edit came out. I don't like how I want to go back and fix this. I'm like, leave it alone. Just leave it be. Because the next time you do it, it's going to be better. And then focus on that instead.
Right.
And then the next one will be better than that. And the next one will be better than that. Until all of a sudden you're looking at season three going, oh my God, season three is great. I've learned so much.
Well,
Well, that's
yeah.
because you have something to compare it to now. You didn't delete season one.
I tell everybody not to go back and look at Paranormal Brew when we first started.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad. It's
Well,
bad.
what were you using before Restream?
Oh, back then, I was hooking my phone up, and it was just Facebook Live.
So straight live.
Yeah, 2017. It was
Okay.
just straight Facebook Live,
Yeah.
and before that, we were so 2016. It was just it was a podcast. It was audio only,
Okay.
and then I started to want to do the Facebook lives, to get, we were still doing the audio and wanted to do the Facebook lives. And I literally had my phone hanging up on something because there was three of us at first, or two of us and then three of us, but to capture us. And we didn't have guests. We were just sitting around talking. Then we
Hmm.
slowly started to get guests. I mean, my shows back then were, I tell everybody, please don't. It's just not.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how I'm still here.
You are a very different person than when you were back then.
So true.
A very different creator and creative.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, back
So
then it was it was just, you know.
Yeah. I remember season one. Dan was so impressed because I figured out how to do the Google Earth drop down in the episodes. And then I learned, yes, they do. Most of the time they hit their work. And
Yeah,
then I learned that technically Google doesn't like that, and they want you to not do that with their images and Google Earth. So we said, okay, well, how can we replace this with something better? Okay, let's buy a drone.
right.
So we bought a drone and we did a drop down from the sky into the location now.
That's cool.
And now when I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, that Google Earth drop down is so cringy. But I had to do it to learn that there's something better out there.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Um, and then and Dave said we're our own worst I can't even
Oh
rewatch
yeah.
I can't rewatch my shows. I
There was
can't.
one, I don't remember what it was. Um there was an episode of Expedition Anyweed. I think it was Broadhead. And I was a little light on B-roll because the building changes so much. Bill's always doing some construction on it. So we're doing the first episode of season 3, the one that won us the Telly Award. And I'm like, crap, I'm short. I need B-roll for the second floor. I just don't have enough. I go back to season 1's episode of Broadhead Manor, which was a different camera. I
Mhm.
didn't have my high contrast style back then. Everything was nice and bright. And I'm looking at all this footage and I'm like, oh, 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 I can't use any of this. Oh no. So instead of using the footage and just sucking it up, we just drove to Broadhead and got more footage. But it's like season 1 and season 3 isn't that far apart.
Right.
And I cannot stand to go back and watch it.
I can't even watch my shows now, but like when I go back and I look at the old Paranormal, like literally, I'm like, I come in the camera from the side, and I'm like, woo! I'm like, oh my god, like what was I thinking? You know what I mean? It was just bad.
Taryn's a ghost now.
I was a ghost.
Well, sometimes you try something and it don't work. It don't
Yeah,
work. And you learn, you get better, and then when someone goes, I want to try this thing where I'm a ghost floating in, you can be like, no, 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 don't
yeah,
do
don't
it.
do that. Yeah, don't
Don't.
do that.
It's not going to be as cool as you think.
Yeah, it's not. Oh my gosh. So, are we leaving anything out?
Oh, Jesus. Probably. Probably. I do have more stuff coming up this year. Things that I have to film first before I can talk about it.
Yep.
Because sometimes when I talk about it first, people show up
Oh.
because they want to get filmed too.
Oh.
And that gets weird where I'm like, hey, it's cool to see you, but you gotta go. Like
Right, right, right.
away. You need to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
So I try not to talk too much, but I can say that besides for the cosplay doc, I have one of my own projects coming out this year that'll be probably about a 50-ish minute video. And then I have another project with a location that will either be a 1 hour video or 3 30-minute videos, depending on how it comes out. Um, I want 3 30-minute videos, but that's me. And then a bunch of other stuff coming out this year. So I have a lot of stuff coming out.
That's cool.
Paranormally that once we get to filming, in Illinois here the weather's so bad it feels like the air is trying to stab your face.
Oh
So
my gosh.
we have to get through that
It's like a
first. But
nightmare.
yeah, I think it was like -20 here last
Oh
week.
no. I could not even
So
live there. I couldn't live there.
the funny thing was, like, we still had to go to school and do everything else. It's just you had to start your car and let it run for 5 extra minutes. That was the only difference.
I would have froze to death.
It's it was rough. Now it's like 40 and I'm outside in shorts and a hoodie, feeling great.
I'm not in shorts until it's like 80 degrees.
Yeah, so 80
Then
is
I'll be
80s where it's like, okay, do I wear sleeves or do I not wear sleeves?
I'm in shorts when it's like 80, 85, 90. That's what I'm
Yikes.
insurance.
Yeah, 90. I'm a puddle on the ground. It's not good for me. Do you
Good for
try to
her.
do you try to save your babies, the parts you don't keep in film? Um, Sometimes. So especially because I do presentations, I'll hang on to sessions or segments that don't make the cut, but they're still really cool, and I might be able to put them in a presentation. So that actually happened with the Expedition Entity. We were filming at a location called the Freeport Masonic Temple. It's an active city block sized temple that still has their rituals and their meetings and all that stuff today. Somehow we got lucky enough to film in there. And we actually did a two-part episode because we had so much footage. During one of the sessions, I got bit by a ghost.
Mm.
So I'm talking to two spirits, two veteran spirits, and apparently this little boy who was trying to talk with me earlier, and I was like, I want to talk with these guys right now. Let me focus on these guys. And as I'm talking to these guys, I felt this pressure on my arm right here, like on the top of my forearm. And at the same time, I look at my arm. The SB7 goes bite, and I'm like, what the hell? Why does my arm hurt? And then the other investigator I was with, she goes, the SB7 said bite. Did you bite me? Yes.
Wow.
What? So we're just blown away by it. After the session ended, we're in the headquarters area where we have all of our gear, and we're still talking about it. And the location didn't want us to include that in the episode,
Really?
so
Oh, because of the bite part? Because of
they
the
didn't
biting?
want people to think that their spirits were going to bite them all the time.
Gotcha. And that
So
makes
I'm like, all right, you know what? I won't include it in the episode,
yeah. I mean, I understand that.
but it is in the presentation for our most haunted locations
Well, that's cool.
because I never said I wouldn't put it in a presentation. So that ended up on the cutting room floor, but it's something cool enough for me to go. I can't let this go. This is something that's really cool. I need to
Yeah.
carry this into something, and it made it into a presentation. So sometimes sometimes I'll be able to keep some things, and then others, it just got to let it go. On to the next one.
Yeah. On to the
So,
next.
but I do have all of my B-roll I've ever shot.
That's cool.
So if I need B-roll for like the Veterans Memorial Hall, yeah, it's gonna be season one, and it's gonna be ugly, and I'm not gonna be happy with it. But let's say tomorrow the building got tore down, and I need that footage. I'm just gonna suck it up
Yeah.
because I still have it. I still have I have actually video from my first time at Gettysburg.
Really.
I was just on my phone. It's not great. I was just taking little clips of video around Little Round Top.
Love Little Round Top.
Yeah, I did too. Until I parked at the bottom of it, and nobody told me there was a parking lot in the back of the hill. So I walked all the way up the hill,
It's a
and it was after the event. So like we got out at like 6ish, and it was starting to get dark. So I'm up at the top of the hill with Jenny Davis, and they're like doing something with a Jeff Fent box. I'm dying. I cannot catch my breath. I'm just because I just walked this damn hill, and finally it gets too dark, and I'm like, listen, I gotta go. Let's start walking down. And they go, yeah, we're over here, and there's a parking lot. And they're like, where are you? And I'm like, way down over there. So I'm hiking down the very, very slippery rocks at dusk. And my first thought was, if I die here, if I fall and like kill myself, no one's gonna be able to find my body.
oh my gosh.
So I live streamed me walking down the Little Round Top,
Oh, that's
and it has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views because people are dying listening to me go, if I disappear, my body's next to this big boulder. If I fall down and die, my body's next to this cactus. Like just pointing out like this is the landmark where my body is.
landmarks.
And I'd point down at the ground and be like, look how slippery this rock is. Like I'm going. Look, I'm gonna die. And then I didn't. I
Of
didn't die.
course. Yeah.
So, but I did get to the bottom, and I'm now the only car in the parking lot. I remote started, like you can see my car.
Yeah.
started and running,
Yeah.
and the cops are there, and
Yeah,
I'm walking towards my car.
yeah, they don't mess around there.
No, and over the loudspeaker, the cop goes, "Hey, you got to leave."
Yeah.
And I turn around, I'm like,
Am I
"That's
getting
my
haunted or is it like what is
that's my
happening?
car. Of
Yeah.
course I'm leaving."
Yeah, no, they do not play around. Like, you used to be able to be in the park until 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah,
which was awesome, but
sure.
people vandalized and were stupid,
Yeah,
so now it's dusk, it's dusk to dawn, dawn to
right.
dusk, whatever. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's a half hour after sunset, so whatever sunset is, you have a half hour after to get out, and let me tell you something, I remember I was same thing. They didn't do the same thing, but I was parked. I was at an area. I didn't have not my watch on me or anything like that, but I knew it got dark, so I knew it was close to time for me to get out of there.
Yeah,
And I come walking back to my car, and there's a park ranger just like literally kissing the back of my car with his
yeah,
lights on, like highlight, like didn't he didn't say anything, but I knew what he meant. Like I need
right.
to get on.
You got to go.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mess around with them out there. They don't mess around.
Last year I did one of the cavalry fields.
East Calvary?
Uh, oh, I don't know. They gave me a pin and said go here, and I'm like, all right, GPS.
Yeah,
So it was, but I know it was a cavalry field.
yeah, East Calvary.
So I went there. Had some pretty interesting things
I
happen.
love East Calvary Field. It's very secluded. Not a lot of people go there because a lot of people
Yeah,
don't know about it. Did you go? Was it like you were going out of town a little bit?
I was in the middle of nowhere.
But to get there though,
Yeah,
were you like? Did you go past like it looked like you were driving out of town, but then you turned onto East Calvary Road or something like that, and then
yes,
you
yes.
would travel, and then you were back to being secluded.
Yeah, and then I remember the pin they gave me was like somebody's house. And they're like, "No, you gotta keep going." I'm like, "I've been in front of this dude's house for like 15 minutes. You guys tell me this now?" He's probably outside going, "There's another one of them damn ghost hunters. You guys gotta leave this place alone."
Yeah,
So,
that's a cool area there.
yeah, yeah, we were using one of Pam and Steve's like pyramid things that they do,
Uh-huh.
pyramid devices they have, and put it on top of one of the old cannons. And everyone backed away from it, and all of a sudden, on top of the cannon, it starts going off. And
Mm,
we're like, "Well, what the hell's causing that?" Well, that's weird. And then I was able to live stream for a little while until my phone died.
mm,
Um, but yeah, that was fun. I do want to check out some of the other spots this upcoming year here.
mhm.
I don't know what my time's going to be. I don't know what
Yeah,
availability I'm going to have yet.
yeah.
So
Well, let me know because, I like to go to some of the spots that are not really that are less traveled.
yeah, I heard the bridge is like one of the worst spots to go to.
It's just it's not federally owned. It's not owned by the park. So it's one of them places where there's no shutdown time, first of all.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing.
Hmm.
However, it is also one of the biggest tourist attractions when people come to Gettysburg, whether they're coming there just for the history, because it's, the covered bridge and all this stuff. The Confederates, retreated through there and all,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So, or for the paranormal, or the local people go there and hang out, play their
Sure.
music. You know what I mean? Because it's
Sure.
a spot for kids to go and hang out, and you know what I mean. So it is a highly trafficked area.
Yeah.
The other, but if you're on Sachs Bridge and you walk away from where people park and you just follow that road, keep following the road, you'll come to another bridge.
Hmm.
It's nicknamed Suicide Bridge for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, nobody's there's nothing in history where anybody committed suicide there.
Okay.
It's the John Eisenhower Bridge. But if you can walk back there and so that's another bridge where people go to as well. Like, so I always tend to walk. But in between those two bridges, there is a small field,
Hmm.
a small little patch of land on the right hand side. And I think they have a sign now like you can't go on it, but at one point you could. And I
Yeah.
remember being back there and seeing like these little balls of light bouncing around
Oh,
in the tree line, and um, captured a couple of EVPs right there. And it was one of the spots where I would like everybody would be either at Sachs Bridge or I can't call it Suicide Bridge. I call it the John Eisenhower Bridge, what it is. The John,
sure.
and here I am in the middle in this little field because, this is where I was getting all this stuff happening here,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Well, and sometimes the paranormal comes to you and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
So, but I do remember while at Gettysburg last year, there was a picture of all the peaches, and you said that I was one of the peaches because I'm in that picture. So that means at some point during the bash, if Pam doesn't have me busy, we're gonna go out and ghost hunt, and you're gonna get to use the Phasma box.
Yay. I would love to. I would love to. That would be so cool to try that
Yeah,
out in the field. I would love that.
yeah. I'll bring my Bluetooth speaker, and then I'll bring the Estes stuff.
Awesome. I'm
So
down. I'm down. Totally gonna do it. Let's do it.
it's different. You have to get used to it. It usually takes
Okay.
me like a couple minutes to get kind of in the zone for it.
Yeah.
Whereas like with an SB7, I can get it right away. But kind of once I get into that zone with the Phasma box, it's nuts. It's wild.
Cool.
Um,
I hope we get to do it.
we will. We will. She's not going to have me do everything, so there'll be time.
Okay, cool.
Like I highly doubt I'm going to be a part of the VIP dinner. So that first night I might even have time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so down to do that.
Well,
Um,
once I figure out what that's going to be like, and then she tells me, I'll be able to let you know.
all right, cool. That'll be awesome. I'm sure some of the other peaches will want to come too.
Fine by me.
You're
We'll
gonna
make it
be
a we're gonna party.
peach party.
Peach party.
A
hmm
paranormal peach party.
I'm going to see if I can find a peach shirt and bring it just for that night. You're like, look, guys, I'm a peach too. I'm the biggest peach there is, but I'm still a peach.
You're a peach stem.
Yeah, right. I'm the bush that you guys all just like hang out on. Like, look how big he is.
He's the peach tree.
That's right. I'm just hanging out.
Larry, you've been awesome. Thank you, dear, for coming
I
on.
I always love coming on here.
Yeah, we can't let it go too long next time.
So at the end of this year, I will have way more stuff to talk about.
All right, well then
So,
we'll have to plan a date for either
well,
the
you know what we could do? Maybe do it in like August, September, and then we can talk about our Peach Power paranormal. There's another P and I forgot it. Paranormal
paranormal
party,
peach party.
paranormal peach party at Gettysburg. We can talk about it on the show then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. Um, you've been great. Tell everybody where they can find you.
So the best place to find me is Facebook. I have the little blue check mark. You put in that name. You can't miss me. I have Instagram. It really just automatically posts to it. I'm not super active. I have TikTok. I'm not super active. Really, it's Facebook. Just come find me on Facebook. And then
Oh,
from there, you can find my website and then my link tree that has all the links and stuff on it. You can find the books and the shows I'm working on. Good night, Penny.
right,
Yeah,
Penny.
everything stems from Facebook pretty much.
Yeah,
So, and then my pinned post has my schedule for the year, and you can find me everywhere, all over the place. So come
that's
and
fun.
find me somewhere.
That's fun. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you for all the comments and questions. And um, next week, another paranormal brew. But until then, sleep tight. I'll see you guys later. Oh gosh.